And we are back to What Did AI Say? At VickyL-4AI on YouTube. Thank you so very much for coming back to the podcast. This is episode number 57. As always, gratitude is the attitude. Let's go ahead and jump right into today's question. We're going to start with Chatgpt. How does a class system function? Oh, this is a good one. Now remember in episode 51, we asked AI the question of how does a true caste system function? So now we're going to carry that on, and we've asked how does a class system function? Okay, here we go. A class system is a way of organizing society in which people are grouped into layers/classes based on economic position, occupation, education, and social prestige. Unlike a caste system, that's the one we talked about in episode 51, a class system is not fixed at birth. People can move up or down, but the playing field is not equal, and mobility is often limited. So let me repeat that. Unlike a caste system, a class system is not fixed at birth. People can move up and down within the system, but the playing field is not equal, and mobility is often limited. Okay, let's continue. Here's how it works step by step. 1. Classes are defined mainly by economic factors. A person's class is generally determined by A. Income, how much they earn. B. Wealth, assets, property, savings. C. Occupation, type of job, skill level, prestige. D. Education, degree level, school quality. These together shape a person's life chances, their likelihood of accessing good housing, health care, and opportunities. 2. Class is not fixed, but mobility varies. Class systems allow for social mobility, but it is not equally available. Upward mobility requires resources, education, networks, money. Downward mobility can happen due to job loss, illness, debt, or economic downturns. In reality, most people stay close to the class they were born into. Need to hear that? In reality, in a class system, most people stay close to the class they were born into. 3. The system reproduces itself across generations. Class is passed down indirectly. Wealthy families can fund better education, stable homes, and valuable networks. Working class families may struggle to access higher education or well-paid jobs. So although the system is open, it tends to reproduce inequality. Cultural signals reinforce class. Class isn't just money. It's also speech patterns. Ooh, never heard that before. Let's see if they explain it. Clothing and style, social connections, values, and expectations. These cultural differences help people identify who belongs to which class and often influence hiring, marriage, and social opportunities. I'm wondering if that means if you speak the Queen's English and not slang. I'm guessing that's what that is, speech patterns. Now that I do know about. 5. Institutions help maintain the structure. Class systems are shaped and stabilized by education systems, public versus private schools, labor markets, who gets which jobs, legal systems, property rights, inheritance, political systems, tax, welfare, labor laws. These structures benefit some classes more than others. 6. Typical class structure in many modern societies. While every country differs, a common model looks like this. 1. Upper class. Wealth owners, elites, major investors, highly influential. 2. Upper middle class. Professionals, doctors, engineers, academics, managers. Interesting. Did you hear that? Upper middle class. Professionals, doctors, engineers, academics, managers. So those professionals are not even upper class, they're upper middle class. Wow. Middle class, office workers, small business owners, technicians. So small business owners are middle class. Working class, service workers, tradespeople, factory workers. Now, I guess tradespeople can jump to middle class because they can also be small business owners. Okay, so I see what they're saying, that there is upward mobility, but most people stay close to their original class. Okay, 5, lower class. Underclass, unstable employment, poverty, limited access to resources. In short, a class system functions by organizing society into economic and social layers that strongly influence people's opportunities. While it appears flexible compared to a caste system, it still tends to keep inequality in place through wealth, education, culture, and institutions. Okay, Chatgpt asks, if you want, it can compare class versus caste or class versus economic inequality. And it also can let you know how class systems operate in the US, in the UK, in China, and in other regions, if you want to take a deeper dive with ChatGPT. Okay, let's move on to Deepseek. And just in case you forgot the question, let me ask it again. How does a class system function? Of course, this is a fundamental concept in sociology. Here's a detailed breakdown of how a class system functions. Core definition. A class system is a type of social stratification where a person's social position is based on a combination of achieved status, what you earn or accomplish, and ascribed status, what you are born into. Unlike a caste system, which is rigid and closed, a class system is, in theory, open and allows for social mobility, movement up or down the social ladder. How it functions, the key mechanisms. A class system operates through a dynamic interplay of several factors. It's not governed by a single law, but by a set of interconnected social, economic, and cultural processes. 1. The economic foundation, the base. This is the most straightforward component. A person's class is largely determined by wealth, the total value of everything one owns, assets, property, investments, minus debt. Income, the amount of money one earns from work or investments. This economic standing directly determines one's life chances, the opportunities for health, longevity, education, and security. 2. Social mobility. The engine of the system, the possibility of changing one's class, is what defines the system. Upward mobility, moving to a higher class. For example, a child of a factory worker becoming a doctor. This is often driven by education, career advancement, marriage, or entrepreneurship. Downward mobility, moving to a lower class. For example, a business owner going bankrupt and losing their status. This can be caused by job loss, debt, illness, or divorce. Structural versus individual mobility. Structural mobility, when changes in the society itself create movement for large numbers of people. For example, the shift from a manufacturing to a service economy created upward mobility for some and downward mobility for others. Exchange mobility, when individuals change positions, essentially swapping places without changing the overall class structure. 3. Status and cultural capital. The invisible forces. Class is more than just money. Sociologist Pierre Bourdieu emphasized the importance of cultural capital, the knowledge, skills, education, taste, and manners that a person possesses. The upper class often has, turn page here, the upper class often has culture knowledge, has high culture knowledge. For example, classical music, fine art, elite vocabulary that is passed down through families and provides an advantage in navigating prestigious institutions. This creates social reproduction, where class status is maintained across generations, not just by passing down wealth, but also by passing down the cultural tools needed to succeed. 4. Social networks and social capital. A class system functions through who you know. Your social networks provide social capital. The resources available to a person through their social networks and connections, an internship from a family friend, a job lead from a college classmate, a business advice from a country club acquaintance are all forms of social capital. Okay, that's interesting and correct. These networks are often class-based, reinforcing existing advantages. Okay. 5. Ideology and legitimation. Legitimation? Okay. The justification. For a class system to be stable, people must generally believe it is fair or at least inevitable. This is achieved through the meritocracy myth, which is the widespread belief that the system rewards talent, effort, and achievement. I didn't know that's what that was called, the meritocracy myth. Okay, remember that. The meritocracy myth is the myth that is the widespread belief that the system rewards talent, effort, and achievement. Meritocracy myth. Okay. This encourages people to buy into the system as they believe they can succeed through hard work. Media and culture. Stories that glorify rags to riches mobility reinforce the idea that the system is open, even if such mobility is statistically rare. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. Media and culture. This is all a part of the conditioning. Stories that glorify rags to riches mobility reinforce the idea that the system is open, even if such mobility is statistically rare. A common model, the three-class system. While sociologists use more complex models, a simple three-class model illustrates the function. Class, key characteristics, how it functions in society. Okay, upper class. Key characteristics, great wealth, often inherited. How it functions in society, powerful social and business networks. High political influence, set trends, controls major corporations and financial institutions, and influences political and cultural agendas. Next, middle class, key characteristics, college education and professional managerial jobs, white collar. How it functions in society, home ownership and financial security, high value on education and career, forms the backbone of the consumer economy, fills skilled professional roles, and is a key political constituency. Okay. Working class, key characteristics, high school education and manual or service jobs, blue collar or pink collar. I've heard pink collar several times recently. Reliance on how it functions in society, reliance on weekly or hourly wages, greater economic insecurity, performs essential labor in construction, manufacturing, retail, and services. Performs essential labor in construction, manufacturing, retail, and services. Often has strong community and union ties. Okay? Next class is lower poor class. Key characteristics, poverty or near poverty, how it functions in society, often precarious employment or unemployment, reliance on social safety nets, faces significant barriers to mobility, including food and housing insecurity, and poor health and educational outcomes. Note, many sociologists also identify a distinct underclass or extremely poor class. Oh, wow. So there's a class under the lower poor class, which is called underclass or extremely poor class, which is characterized by chronic multi-generational poverty and social isolation from mainstream institutions. How the system functions in practice. Consider two children born on the same day. Alex is born into an upper middle class family. They live in a well-funded school district. They have access to tutors. Their parents have connections for prestigious internships. And the cultural expectation is that they will attend a 4-year university. Their path through the class system is smoothed by economic, social, and cultural capital. Brittany is born into a working class family. Her local school is underfunded. She may need to work a part-time job in high school to help the family, and while her parents support her, they lack the professional networks to open certain doors. Her path requires navigating significant structural barriers. The class system is the framework that makes Alex's path statistically more likely to lead to a high-income profession, and Brittany's path statistically more likely to involve financial struggle, even if individual talent and effort vary. Okay. Summary, the function in a nutshell. A class system functions by 1. Ranking individuals based on a combination of economic, social, and cultural factors. 2. Distributing resources and life chances unequally across these ranks. 3. Allowing for but also limiting social mobility, creating a dynamic where people can move but the overall structure remains. 4. Reproducing itself across generations through the inheritance of wealth, social networks, and cultural knowledge. 5. Being justified by a dominant ideology like meritocracy that encourages acceptance of the system. Wow. That is so very deep. Okay. That's a lot. Okay, how does any of this affect our daily lives? Well, we now know the difference between the caste and the class system. So knowledge is power, most definitely. And the more knowledge you have, the better you can understand what goes on around you and what actually goes on, in the world. So the class system does allow for mobility, even if it is still in inequality within that mobility. It does allow for the mobility, but as the statistics say, the majority of people don't move far from their original class. So there is opportunity, which makes it definitely better than the caste system where there is no opportunity and you are literally locked into your lot in life from your day of birth, which is crazy. All right, so let's go ahead and get to our positive saying for today, and I do believe that this is a positive one, so let's see what it is. Yeah, it is. Okay, here we go. Youthfulness isn't the absence of age, but the presence of the soul before it was hardened. Let me repeat that. Youthfulness isn't the absence of age, but the presence of the soul before it was hardened. Wow. Maybe that is the answer to forever youth, is to just heal yourself. Keep your soul Keep your soul beautiful. Don't let, life and negative situations turn you into an old person. Don't let it change you. Don't let it turn you into an old person. That's good. Let me read that one more time. Youthfulness isn't the absence of age, but the presence of the soul before it was hardened. That's awesome. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so very much for giving me about 20 and a half minutes of your time. I didn't mean to go so long. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the podcast so that we can continue to bring you great questions, and peace.